thought I would be doing an episode on running. Now, if you remember, Professor Tim Noakes was here not too long ago, and we spoke about running and his idea and perspective on running. Today I've got Yusri Williams with me, and he's going to talk about his perspective, his opinion as a runner. I need to say from the onset that we all have different opinions, and we do things that work for us. And people do individualistic things that work for them. So Yusri's opinion and what he's going to tell me today is based on what works for him. But the mission behind all of this is to talk to people about running, getting active, leaving those video games, and becoming a bit more active and less sedentary for your own life's sake. Yusri, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, man.
Now you came running into studio this morning.
Yeah, quite.
I hope you're not going to run out.
Oh no, I didn't actually bring my running shoes here, but that was just the excitement in me.
The thing that struck me most about us talking just before the show was the fact that you run 100 kilometers. Now, I can't think of running 100 kilometers. I take these walks, which everyone knows about. They're 5 kilometers a day, roughly.
Yes.
I think that's what I can cope with. I will run from one pole to another and try to run a few poles. And I'm not going to say what those distances are because you're probably going to laugh at me. But when it gets beyond that, I feel like my heart's going to stop and I can't anymore. So how you do 100 kilometers, yeah, and then you do the comrades, and you do 6 of these in a year, yeah, is like beyond me.
Yeah, look, it's not as you narrow it in your mind, it's as big as you make it. So when you see these tasks, yeah, you know, it seems to be, yeah. Look, I didn't start off at 100Ks. For everyone watching this, I didn't start off at 100 kilometers. I built it up, and you know, you got to find out what's attainable first. And with you talking about the 1 pole, 2 poles, things like that, I was there. And a lot of people need to understand, we were there. We make our way from the one step onto the next.
But listen, yeah, the fact that I ran 2 poles, yeah, it still makes me a runner, isn't it?
Oh yes, oh yes, of course, so, yeah.
So you see, I want to talk about a lot of things. I want to talk about diet. I want to talk about that motivation. Some people talk about that interpersonal communication they have when they're running, where they're trying to motivate themselves, the mental fatigue of it all. I want to go there. But for me, talking to you, you're 26 years old, yes, and you're running all these distances, and I think that you found that space. I first want to know what got you there in the first place. What motivated you to do what you're doing?
Okay, well, if we turn back the clock to 2006, I was still in high school and always involved in sport, like I told you earlier. But there was this thing called the Two Oceans Marathon, and part of our life orientation course was to do community service, and one of the community service routes that I went on was to marshal at Two Oceans in 2006. And while I was there, I stood there at the 7K board on Main Road outside the Melts. You know the Melts on Main Road? And I stood there with a 7K mark, and I stood there shouting 7K, 7K. And all these people ran past and they had big smiles and taking photos of me. Well, back then, you know, it was the film cameras, you know, yeah, so taking the pictures, and I thought, oh my word, this is so amazing. But immediately what I thought, being competitive, I thought, oh my goodness, look at these people. If they could do it, I can do it. And that's been the philosophy since then. I thought, you know what, as you do something, you allow someone else to believe that it's doable, it's achievable. So
was that the defining moment for you, standing there when people were coming by, yeah, and you decided from there, well, this is what I need to be doing, I need to be on the other side?
Yeah, I thought,
standing with the board, I need to be.
Yeah, the standing on the board was a bit boring for me. Always playing cricket, soccer, rugby, always doing something. I thought, well, this is the goal, how do I get there? It was always how can I get there? Then 2007, I saw myself at the starting line, 17 years old, doing.
Was this now? That's very on a novice level, because you're going to go short distances firstly,
yes,
and you're not so much into the diet and all of the other things yet, because you're just starting off.
Yeah. Okay. It was complete at all costs. You know, I mean, I saw them, and every time when I felt like I was struggling, I thought, no. If those guys could do it, I could do it. Meanwhile, it's only 7Ks into the race. Everyone's still happy.
Are you generally competitive in life on other fronts in terms of education, workspace, and that sort of thing?
Yes, yeah, I find.
So you've got a competitive streak in you.
Yeah. It's a case of, I find myself consider myself to be a bit of a perfectionist, so if I allow myself to be given enough time, I'll try to do it as good as possible. So if I see it, then I reassess. How have I done something? Okay, wait, how can I do it better? Not the competitive against everybody else. It was always against how can I do this better. So, and that's how it sort of developed. It was, and then you see with the communities, okay, well, once you've conquered, as it were, one distance or one, how can I say, field, then you move on to the next discipline, a bigger distance, a tougher course, something like that. Yeah.
You know, we have an issue in society today. People are, and I think especially the youngsters, and I don't know what to define as youngsters anymore, because all of those dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
So things have changed. I think that I've seen it more than perhaps what you have, having a bit of more years than you that I landed on Earth. But what I see is that a shift to gaming, and
that's right.
And a shift to getting off the road. So people no longer play actual soccer. There are the few, but if you look at the numbers, I'm 100% sure that the numbers have come down.
Oh, yes.
The cricket that used to be there back 50 years ago is probably much less than what it was back in the day. We find lots of sportsmen, well dressed up, sitting on Facebook all day long, fighting with all the other cricket clubs and soccer clubs around the world, calling themselves all kinds of names. But that doesn't make you a sportsman.
Yeah.
Dressing up and sitting like a keyboard warrior all day as to who won the match doesn't make you a sportsman.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So there's a problem. You see, we have a problem in society. Two things. We started eating more junk. So it's 2016. We have compounding factors. We're eating more junk, more than we ever did throughout our history.
Yeah.
One. Number two, we're moving less than we ever did in history. The two is obviously two little atoms that's going to combine and create an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And that's a health bomb that we're creating.
Yeah.
There you are as a young man doing the very opposite to what other people your age are doing. How do we get them back there?
Look, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to a lack of awareness and the lack of the people being taken by the hand and shown, look, this is the obesity or the sedentary lifestyle time bomb that we're sitting on, you know, and then showing people that in order to be active, you don't have to go do 100 kilometers. That does not define you as being active, but showing people that when you're active, the stress relief that comes with it, that happy feeling, that lekker feeling, as it were, that comes from just being out there in yes, exactly. You know, get the endorphins going, get but that good feeling, like I was saying. And there's people don't know enough about the benefits from it, and the benefits in line with how simple it is. So we talk about, if we talk about in schools, you know, the focus is with it, being aware of the obesity epidemic that we're sitting on. In the schools, we talk about the life orientation, and we're talking more about abstinence and staying away from drug abuse and understanding HIV and AIDS and things like that. The reality, though, is that you come home and everybody at a table sitting with their head down, they're on their phones. Outside of that, the families aren't communicating as much because of the technological world.
They're communicating with everyone else outside the room,
yes, yeah.
But everyone inside the room. I mean, you go to a function nowadays and you see everyone sitting in a circle and they're busy on their phones talking to everybody that's not in the room.
Exactly.
But everybody inside the room is saying nothing to everyone in the room. But funny enough, I want to do a sample and take those people, take half that group, put it into another room, and they'll then start communicating with people in group in room number A. And they'll not speak to people in room number B. I'm 100% sure. But be that as it may, the running component obviously has lots of health benefits. What benefits are we talking about?
Yeah, look, we got the longevity side. You know, we've got getting outside, getting that vitamin D from the sun. There's that. You know, there's getting the turnover with your muscles, getting your muscles actually active. It totally counters the sedentary lifestyle of staying stationary.
So there's stress relief.
There's stress relief, definitely. Now we talk about things like a healthy heart or joint health, and then you'll get people on the other side will say, "Whoa, but if you're running too much, then you get issues with injuries." injuries, that's a pessimistic approach.
But I've heard that before. So there's nothing that goes on with your knees and stuff like that. People are saying that the impact of when I've heard this, so I'm not 100% sure about this, but people say that when you run and you keep on banging the knees because of the fact that you keep on landing all the time and you're running 100 kilometers, you can have some impact on the knees.
Sure.
Your readings on that?
What happens is, speaking to a specialist previously, we found that the flow of running, the mechanics with regard to running, you're putting up to 5 times your body weight impact on each land, on each striking of the ground.
Yeah, so that means that as you're landing, your right leg is going to take 5 times the body weight.
Its impact on the ground based on the movement.
And that's a shock because it's 1 second and the next one.
It's a jarring movement, so it's like bang, bang, bang on repeat. So that sort of thing, that conditioning has to come in, so that's why we talk about we build up that foundation. You've got to start off small and build it from there.
So what do you mean by conditioning? Are you saying that the knees can be conditioned to handle that?
Yeah, 100%. So you get, in the same token, if we go the hypothetical sphere and look at a professional rugby player, there were steps that needed to be taken to get to that place, right? To get to that space, get your body to that peak condition. On the same token, we're all humans in the sense that we've got to prepare ourselves. So what I mean, from the stretching side, you can strengthen the muscles. At the end of the day, the muscles are the strength behind the joints and protective layer around the bones and etc. So what you've got to do, it can start off from the basic exercises to walking before you running, and walking before a jog, and then jog before you start running, and build it up like that. I could talk your ear off in terms of the full extent that it takes in terms of the preparation, but it's not complicated.
So the average viewer sitting at home that's probably not running, that's probably just taking a walk around the mall on Sundays, which I think is most of what people get nowadays. If they wanted to start off, where would the starting line be?
The starting line, okay.
And what would the expectancy be? Are you expected to go 500 meters, and are you expected to go every second day, for example, to get yourself slowly into the swing of things?
Okay, if we've got, I think of the closest to us, we've got the Rondebosch Common, right? And on a Saturday morning they have the park run, which is a 5K, as they say. And what it is, you get hundreds, close on thousands starting there at 8 o'clock.
Look at these
But you know what, that's where it all starts. And it's so refreshing. I thoroughly enjoy going there because you get there and there's some people there, and you get the parents taking the kids in a pram. You got some guys, much to the disappointment of others, walking their dogs, and they get scared of the dogs, but people are getting out and they're doing it. Some people take almost the entire morning to get the 5K done, but you know what, they are there, and in terms of the capability, for those listening, like, oh, how do I get off the couch and do a 5K? Most of us have been to a shopping mall once before, and when you go to those places like Canal Walk, where the parking is quite cheap for spending about 3-4 hours there, you're on your feet for that 3 to 4 hours, and maybe stopping for about half an hour to eat something. Going back to the healthy diet, the unhealthy diet thing, but on the activity front, you're on your feet for 3 to 4 hours. So out there doing a circular 5K is relatively doable if you consider the amount of time you can spend on your legs. But it's the distraction, when you're walking from shop to shop, you don't see it as activity. But at the end of the day, that's really what it is. So running is essentially just an open space, walking, moving, just the simplest way of getting from point A to B with your feet.
So that's the starting point. And the starting point might also be perhaps a mental paradigm shift, and that's to tell oneself that it's time to get up and start moving. Yes, and I think that's an important thing. That's the first step to getting out there. Well, we're going to take a break. Don't run away. We're going to be back soon. Sure.